They say a man's destiny is not written in the stars, it is etched in the silent choices he makes before the world even wakes. And there is one choice, one habit, so deceptively simple that it has toppled empires in its absence and built fortunes in its presence. It is the moment when the sun has not yet risen, when the streets are silent, when most are still prisoners of their pillows, that is when the architects of destiny go to work. I am not speaking of mere waking up early. I am speaking of waking up with purpose, a morning ritual so potent that Napoleon Hill himself called it the secret furnace in which success is forged. The world believes success comes in the grand moments, the big speeches, the perfect timing, the lucky break. But those who have studied greatness know the public moment is only the shadow. The real work happens in the dark, in the quiet, when nobody is watching. Think of Edison pacing his lab in the pre-dawn hours, shaping an idea that would bring light to the world. Think of Carnegie scribbling visions into a leather-bound journal before steel turned his name into legend. Think of Disney sketching a mouse lawn before anyone believed the world would follow it into magic. They all had a morning habit, a sacred appointment with themselves, a time when the mind is uncorrupted by noise and the heart still speaks in whispers you can hear. Most people roll over when the alarm rings. They give the first and purest hour of their day to hesitation, to drowsiness, to checking the opinions of strangers on glowing screens. And in doing so, they surrender the single greatest opportunity they have to shape their future. Because here is the truth Napoleon Hill drove into the minds of every serious student. Your morning is your declaration of war or your surrender. You decide which it will be. The habit that changes everything is not about time, it is about ownership. When you wake before the world, you stand on ground unclaimed by anyone else. That hour belongs only to you, and how you spend it will echo through every other hour of your day. Hill called it definiteness of purpose in action. It is when you train your mind not to drift with the tides of circumstance, but to steer with unshakable hands toward a destination you have chosen. It begins in stillness. The champions of history didn't stumble into clarity, they demanded it of themselves. Before Ford imagined an assembly line that would put the world on wheels, he imagined himself in the driver's seat of his own mind every morning. He knew that a man who begins his day in mental chaos will end it in the same. Your thoughts, unchecked in the morning, will run like wild horses, and by nightfall, you will not know where they have taken you. So what does this habit look like? It is the ritual of alignment. It is setting your mind like a compass before the ship leaves harbor. It may be meditation, prayer, reading words that sharpen your vision, writing goals with ruthless clarity. It may be affirming with conviction that no matter what storms rise today, you will not be moved from your course. It is whatever pulls your scattered energy into a single burning point of focus, and here is why it must happen in the morning. Because once the world wakes, the demands begin. Emails, messages, obligations, the endless chorus of urgent things that keep you from the important ones. If you do not claim your direction before the noise begins, the noise will claim it for you. Napoleon Hill warned that drifting, letting the day decide for you, is the death of all dreams. And drifting begins when you hand over the first hour of your day to chance. Imagine a general planning his battle after the fighting has already started. Chaos, confusion, defeat. Now imagine the same general rising before the soldiers, walking the field in the quiet, placing every piece with intent, knowing exactly what he will do when the sun breaks. Which army would you rather lead? Your life is that army, and your morning is the planning table. The one habit that changes everything is this: commanding the first hour of your day with a mind that is awake before the body, with a vision so clear that the rest of the day cannot help but obey it. When you rise before the world and place your mind upon the throne of the day, you are no longer reacting to life, you are dictating it. And that is the difference between the masses who wonder where their time went and the few who tell time exactly where it will go. This hour is not a luxury. It is the forge where your identity is hammered into shape. A man who starts his day by shaping himself becomes impossible to break. Hill spoke of autosuggestion, the deliberate feeding of the mind with the images, commands, and beliefs that align with your desired reality. This is not some idle daydream. It is the architect's blueprint. Without it, the mind will build. Whatever happens to drift in from the outside world, gossip, fear, doubt, distraction. Consider Lincoln during the storm of the Civil War. Imagine the weight of waking each day to a nation torn in half. And yet, he carved out time in the early morning for reflection, prayer, and the steadying of his convictions before stepping into the day's chaos. He did not allow the war to decide his mind. He decided his mind before facing the war. That is the essence of this habit. The mind in the morning is like clay, fresh, pliable, ready to be molded. As the hours pass, it hardens into whatever shape you have given it. If you wait until noon to try and shape your day, you are chiseling at stone with your bare hands. But in the morning you can sculpt mountains, and what you feed yourself in that hour is as important as the hour itself. This is not the time for news headlines dripping with fear or idle chatter that scatters your focus. This is the time for concentrated input that builds your mind like steel, words of great thinkers, pages of books that have outlived centuries, thoughts that stretch your imagination beyond the limits of comfort. Hill insisted, only feed your mind with the fuel that drives you toward your purpose. Here is a truth most refuse to see every morning. You are either conditioning your mind for success or you are conditioning it for mediocrity. There is no neutral. Every choice you make in those first waking minutes tilts the scale toward one or the other. And the tilt becomes permanent if repeated enough times. Think of Thomas Edison again. How many mornings did he rise knowing the day before had ended in failure? Thousands. Yet each morning, he stepped into the laboratory as though success were inevitable because he had decided it was before the day even began. That decision wasn't made at the moment of discovery. It was made in the quiet of countless mornings. This habit also builds a hidden weapon, resilience. When you own your morning, you create a mental fortress that the day's troubles cannot easily breach. You could face rejection, setback, even public humiliation, but because you fortified your mind at dawn, you will still stand at dusk. Do not underestimate the spiritual weight of this practice. Whether you call it God, the universe, or simply the deep intelligence within, there is a presence that speaks more clearly in the early hours. The noise of the world has not yet drowned it out, and in that stillness, if you are listening, answers come. Ideas appear, solutions unfold. The greatest inventions, the greatest strategies, the greatest shifts in history have been born in these unbroken moments. You may say, but I am not an inventor, a general, or a president. That is irrelevant. You are the leader of your own life. You are the captain of a ship whose course affects not only you, but everyone you touch. The stakes are higher than you think. Every decision you make ripples outward, and the first decision of your day sets the tone for them all. So, when the alarm rings tomorrow, do not merely wake up, rise. Rise with intent. Rise with the weight of knowing that the world is still asleep, and in this rare hour, you hold the pen that writes the day. Do not give that pen to anyone else, and know this: the habit will test you. At first, the bed will whisper to you with the voice of comfort. The body will argue. The mind will offer excuses disguised as logic. But each time you rise anyway, you carve deeper into yourself the identity of someone who keeps promises to themselves. And a man or woman who keeps promises to themselves becomes unstoppable.